Welcome back. It is still Wednesday, March 4th, 2015. This is still the morning edition. Last I checked, I am still Yael Avi, and I am woman. You will understand in a second why I said that. Kling.
What?
Sorry, I have to show the studio. Kling. What did I say? The only man in the studio. Please listen up.
The last male there is.
The last male there is. This is an important segment, and one that I was looking forward to many times. True. Israel is one of the few countries in the world with a history record boasting a woman prime minister, Golda Meir. But not since the reign of the old lady, as she was nicknamed in the region, has a woman grabbed the spot of prime minister in Israel. That said, women in Israel have become an increasingly important voice in politics. Who are these women? What do they stand for? And do they stand to make a political dent in the future of Israel? So, with 12 days to the elections in Israel, we are very happy to announce and introduce a new series that will follow 6 influential women in the Israeli political sphere, all written, conceptualized by i24news diplomatic correspondent Tal Shalev and edited by Loren Tulila, also of i24news, that will spotlight this fascinating bit of current political runoff in Israel. So, joining me in studio right now is Tal Shalev, obviously, and also joined by legal advisor for the Israel's Women's Network, advocate Karen Greenblatt. Karen, good morning to you. You're the specialist. Tal is the creator. Tal, take it away.
Well, you know, you and I spend hours talking about men.
Yeah.
The diplomatic...
Not you, Kling. Yes. The diplomatic.
The diplomatic and strategic arena in Israel is widely dominated by males and also in the world. So that's usually we talk about men, and the Israeli political arena is far away from equality. We're talking about 27 lawmakers out of 120 Knesset members in the last Knesset, meaning that's 22.5% when women are, of course, approximately 50 or 51% of the population.
Right.
And there is an estimation that the number will grow in the coming elections, but nevertheless, something very interesting happened in the 2015 election campaign, something that it became evident that something might be going on, because all of the Zionist parties, as we call them, the secular Zionist parties, were really up on the women ticket. They were looking for the women ticket. They were looking for interesting women to put in their slots. They were looking for interesting women to recruit. Everyone wanted women at the top, and in a very interesting way, we have all of the winners of the primaries were women. We had Sheli Yachimovich and Stav Shafir reach the first places in the Zionist Union. Right. Miri Regev from the Likud reach a high spot, breaking a record in the Likud, reaching the fourth seat on the list. Right. The fourth seat on the list, and we also see Ayelet Shaked from the Jewish Home, who is secular, reached the first place on the list, despite the fact that she's secular and she's in a religious party. So something really interesting is going on. And the fact is that even though there are only 27, the women in the Israeli parliament are extraordinary, I think, in many ways. They're perceived as very good lawmakers. They're as very efficient lawmakers. And we started out with Orly Levy, who is number 2 on the Israel Beitenu list, Victor Lieberman's list. She presents, she's considered the social face of Israel Beitenu, but let's take a look and then we can discuss it.
Yeah.
היי, אני אורלי לוי, אני מבית שאן, גדלתי והתחנכתי בבית שאן למשפחה מרובת ילדים. היום אני אימא ל4 ילדים, יש לי תואר ראשון במשפטים, עסקתי בתקשורת, והנושאים שאותם אני מקדמת זה נושאים של ילדים ובני נוער בסיכון, נושא רווחה, הנושאים החברתיים שבעצם הם מנת חלקם של רוב האוכלוסייה במדינת ישראל. אני גדלתי בבית פוליטי מאוד, והחוויות שלי מהפוליטיקה לא היו נעימות בתור ילדה, אבל כשאתה גדל בבית כזה, מן הסתם אתה סופג עליך כמה דברים, אתה בוחר גם איפה להציג אותם. זה לא חייב להיות באמת בפרונט של מקבלי ההחלטות בכנסת או בממשלה, ואני בחרתי לעשות את זה בתקשורת. ואז הגיעה הצעה שהיא מבחינתי הייתה באמת מה שהציף את הדילמה. את מדברת בנושאים חברתיים, מה אם יהיה לך אור ירוק לשנות ולהריץ את הנושאים החברתיים שבהם את מאמינה? תהיי בתפקיד או במיקום מאוד גבוה ביחס לח"כ נכנס, ועם הבטחה לאור ירוק בנושאים החשובים לך. אני פה, לא? תראי, יש הרבה תגובות שאני יכולה לייחס אותן לתגובות שוביניסטיות, היום פחות, או שהפכתי להיות אדישה. המוטו שלי גם זה אוקיי, אבל שידברו, זה לא משנה, אם זה לא מסרס אותי, אז זה לא פוגע בי ולא פוגע במאבק שאותו אני מנסה. אם הייתי הולכת עכשיו לקונחייה הזו של האישה שנלחמת על זכותה שדברו אליה בצורה שווה, היינו מאבדים את העיקר, ואותו השגנו בגלל שהתעלמתי מזה לחלוטין ועמדתי על זכותי להמשיך ולהביע את דעתי, ולא התעסקתי עם זה שעכשיו מגיע לי שתתנהג אליי בצורה אחרת. ותאמיני לי, חלק מהחוקים שאותם העברתי, אין לי ספק שלא היו עוברים ללא העקשנות שלי והדבקות במטרה, והתחושה שזה אישי. מה, אישה ראש ממשלה? בוודאי, אבל אני חושבת שהנושא של ההתעסקות, של האחריות, של הזמן הפנוי עם המשפחה, אני חושבת שגם ככה הילדים שלי משלמים מחיר, ולא הייתי רוצה לגבות מהם מחיר יותר כבד ממה שגם עכשיו הם משלמים. הדילמות האלו הן דילמות שמשותפות, אני חושבת, לכל אישה שיוצאת לשוק העבודה, החל מחופשות לידה ועל החזרה לשגרה. אבל אני יכולה לספר לך שאני מגיעה הביתה, לפעמים ב-10 בלילה, ואני תוך כדי זה שאני מגיעה עוד על העקבים עם הבגדים, מתחילה להרים כביסה, לזרוק לזה, למיין את הכלים לכיור, ובסוף גם שומעת תלונות על כך שאני לא נמצאת בבית ומבשלת ארוחת צהריים חמה בכל יום. איך הבת שלי אמרה לי, אני לא צריכה לשלם את המחיר של הקריירה שלך, אז תתחילי לבשל. יש רגעים שבהם אני אומרת למה הייתי צריכה את זה, אבל כשאני מסתכלת על למעלה מ-26 חוקים חברתיים, פר אקסלנס, ממש את מתעסקת בילדים בסיכון, בילדים עם בעיות, באוכלוסיות מוחלשות, בדיירי הדיור הציבורי, בנפגעות ונפגעי תקיפה מינית, בנפגעי עבירה קטינים, כשאני מסתכלת על ההישגים האלו ועל ההגנה על אותם ילדים, אני אומרת, זה היה שווה כל רגע. אולי לא הצלחתי לעשות מהפכות גדולות, אבל המהפכות הקטנות האלו של הילדים משנים את החיים.
First of all, Tal, I got to say, beautiful, beautiful piece of work, and obviously with us for the next week and a half leading up to elections. Karen Greenblatt, I want to start with you. When it comes to Israeli female politicians, I read last night, and it's also a discussion that Tal and I have been having, that there seems to be a trend that when women enter politics in Israel, they shy away from the feminist agenda. They give up on women issues and just move towards what seems to be interesting to the Israeli public. Is that the case, and why do you think that's happening?
I actually don't think I agree with that, especially not in the last Knesset. I think that the entrance of politicians like Merav Michaeli has really impacted the way that the female Knesset members have cooperated with one another, and absolutely not. Limor Livnat from the right has been a huge supporter of feminist agenda, and it's important to say it's not enough for us to see more women in politics. It's not. We want to see women who work together across the political divides and promote our, women's rights, our agenda, fight sexual harassment, fight sexual violence, fight inequality.
Yeah. Sorry, I yelled at
discrimination at the workplace. All of these issues are extremely important, and we do see some really rare cooperations across, the political parties when it comes to women's issues. We've seen Zehava Galon work together with Aliza Lavi from Yesh Atid. We've seen these.
When it comes to female issues.
I also think there's maybe like a second generation trauma from the word feminism. The one that is, it's true. I can say it from personal experience.
Sort of feminism.
Yes, our generation, the second generation after the 70s, after the big feminist revolution, 60s, 70s, grew up in a world that feminism was the main word. My mother taught me all the time that I can do whatever I want and nothing can stop me. And then you grow up in a luxurious lifestyle in many ways, because you already have we have all these women who have battled for us and have battled for these women. They do not have to put the feminist agenda at the forefront of their activities and their policies. They can keep it backside, and it's not very trendy to define yourself as feminist. I think that's something that's quite widely perceived in social media.
And I think it's coming back. You think it's coming back?
I think it's coming back.
I'm sorry for putting you in your spot, Karen, because I agree with Tal, but I think that if a female politician, I'm sorry to put that on the table, in Israel, would wave, other than Merav Michaeli, okay, would wave the feminist flag as part of her running constituency plan, then she actually would be losing votes in many ways.
Well, in 2000, just in reality, in 2009, the gender factor is considered the X factor that gave the lead to Tzipi Livni. 3 days before the election, she went on a women campaign, and the women vote is the one that is considered the one that gave her the lead, even though she didn't become prime minister in the end.
I think it's just important to notice that it's not about raising the feminist flag. It's not about, like Beyonce putting the huge word feminist behind you with big lights. It's about it's about promoting specific legislation. So, if a member of the Knesset from Yesh Atid, the head of the Women's Status Committee, promotes, tens of laws that fight discrimination at the workplace, that fight the wage gap, that fight, that put women in committees and, all of these things, then it makes a difference for the women voters.
No, a valid point. And because we still have Ron Friedman of i24 News Morning Edition roaming the streets of Tel Aviv, wondering out loud with you, had a chance to speak to some of the prospective voters in Israel. And people out there, do you think they're ready? Are Israelis ready for another Israeli female prime minister? Not that that's in the cards.
Well, listen, as the man on the team, I wouldn't assume to speak on behalf of women, but from the conversations we've had with people this morning, yes, a woman in a top leadership role would be a breath of fresh air, perhaps more attuned to social issues and women's issues. But like you said, this isn't in the cards. We don't have a main woman candidate this time around. People say, yes, we'd like to see more women in leadership roles, promoting women agenda, but unfortunately it's not the top agenda.
That's not in the cards. That's putting Ron Friedman there on the spot. Thank you, Ron. As we move along.